Yeah.
against the wall.
As long as you're not like.
This is the lowest bit.
Freaked out by tunnels.
Oh, really?
As long as you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is cool.
Alright, then I focus
There
on
is a little bit that it's a like. I just hand you shorter.
Okay. Yeah, do from up here. Oh, that's nice. Here comes one. Got to. That's about it up there. Let's see how far.
When I'm with you, I am able to keep pushing my limits and all the drive that I have. Well, I'm going the distance with you. I didn't know what I had till I knew what was missing and everything that I dread. Well, I built a resistance with you. Catch me when I fall, and I'll keep you on the ground. You were gone, I wish you'd stay. I could look at you for days. Time was well spent, that's when I knew that I need to spend my life here with you. Take your time, not in the fast lane. I understand that you've been broken too many times, but I'll be waiting.
So this is the main throat of the volcano at the Leleiwi crater.
Oh.
So that's basically where it goes down into the earth. And then you have what they call the rift zone that runs for about 60 miles. It's like a giant crack in the earth that serves as like a conduit for the lava. This is the Pu'u'o'o vent on the east rift zone, and that's where the lava has been coming out of, or was coming out of, for over 35 years. And that's what covered all of this area in lava that you see out here. We're down right about here where I put the X on the map. Now the lava changes course about every year or two, it seemed like, where it was flowing here. And I put this poster together to be able to describe the last lava flow in this area. It was called the 61G flow. May of 2016 until May of 2018.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
How close are we to that?
We're about 4 miles away from
4 miles,
where that
okay.
was, yeah. And that's where the heavier red line is here. That I put on the map. So it changed course in May of 2016 where it was coming out of the Pu'u'o'o vent, started coming down the mountain. This is the morning it made it to the base of the mountain, about a little over 4 miles out here. And you see these little areas of green that were spared by the lava. Those are lower than the surrounding area. They call those kapukas. And so invariably, whenever a new flow comes down the mountain, it starts to burn some of those trees out there. And eventually it burned all the trees in that island of trees missed by previous flows. This is the morning it made it to the new highway that they had put in 2014 or 15. When the lava was getting close to Pahoa Village up on the hill. As soon as they put that highway in, it stopped flowing towards
Madam
Pahoa.
is like, no.
And so it filled up a low spot up on top, and then it came down, and this is the morning it started across the highway. It eventually covered about 3/4 of a mile of the highway out there. The day after it started crossing the highway, it made it to the edge of the cliffs, started to drop off the cliffs and form this new land out in the ocean. All of this new land is very unstable. Pieces of that can collapse and fall in at any time. Eventually, all of this silver area built up out in the ocean. And then what ends up happening a lot of times is the lava, as soon as it hits the air, it starts to cool and solidify on the surface. If it finds a path that it's happy flowing through and it keeps flowing in that same path, that crust that begins to form on the surface gets thicker and thicker until eventually it becomes self-supporting and it creates what they call a lava tube. It's like a cave that it forms for itself to flow through. So it formed a tube going from the Pu'u'o'o vent all the way to the ocean entry, about 7 miles. Wow. So then when I took this photograph, it was basically under the surface and you couldn't see it. Well, then on New Year's Eve of 2016, all of this new land collapsed and fell into the ocean, along with some of the existing coastline. 26 acres in all fell into the ocean at that time. When that all fell into the ocean, it exposed that lava tube that was supplying that ocean entry. So here you have the lava shooting right straight out of the cliff and dropping 60 feet into the ocean below.
Wow.
This is called a fire hose. Now you have a person in this photo here to
No
give you
way.
a size perspective as to how big that fire hose is. Here you have the boat that's 42 feet long to give you a size perspective. Now, this is one of the tour boats. Okay, now I took this picture a little over 2.5 years ago. I've been saying ever since, I think they get a little bit too close to the lava. Well, you probably heard a little over a year ago, there was kind of a freak thing that happened. They were about 100 yards off the coastline, and there was an explosion from under the water and threw a lava bomb up in the air, a chunk of red hot lava about the size of a basketball. It hit the roof of this boat and blew a hole in there about this big around and injured 23 people.
Wow, these are amazing though. I don't remember seeing
This,
fire hose
I've been here
close.
for more than 14 years. I've never seen anything quite like this out there before. And this is probably about 8 feet in diameter, that tube that's just pouring into the ocean like that.
And what about 30, 40 feet up? Did you say
60.
60? That's 60 feet.
up, yeah. The average volume was 400,000 cubic meters a day. That's just a crazy number to think about, but that's what created all the islands, so that's a good thing. Otherwise we'd be in deep water. Right? No, then we started having the events that ended this flow and started the next one that you heard about. Everybody heard about.
Yeah,
I call it the Hollywood flow because this was active for 35 years. Once in a while they'd put something on the news about it, but this one was always on the news. So, while this flow was still happening, you had the lava lake that was inside of the Halemaumau crater, and you had the lava lake inside of the Pu'u'o'o vent. Those lava lakes would go up and down pretty much at least every day. They would go up and down, and they would fluctuate in elevation about 30 feet. And so all of April last year, while this flow was still happening, those lava lakes were going up all the time. They weren't coming back down. Then we started having hundreds of earthquakes a day, 600 to 800 earthquakes a day. So you knew the pressures building inside the volcano. You knew something was going to happen. Well, then on May 4th last year, we had a 6.9 earthquake, and that's when everything changed. So once again, you have the rift zone that serves as like a conduit for the lava. It goes from 4,000 feet elevation down to sea level. Well, there must have been some blockage in the rift zone that kept the lava from going any further downstream, and that's why it was coming out of the Pu'u'o'o vent for 35 years. That 6.9 earthquake must have removed the blockage, broke the dam so it could start moving downstream. So the lava lake inside of Pu'u'o'o dropped out of sight. The lava lake inside of Halemaumau dropped over 1,000 feet in one day and kept going down. And so all of that lava started moving downstream over to this area where I put the red on the map. Yeah, there were so many dramatic things.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you'd get, like, it would start at like 20 steam explosions an hour from that water pouring in there. It would build up to about 40 steam explosions an hour. Then there'd be one that would register 5.3 on the Richter scale. Then it would go back down to 20, build back up to a 5.3, go back down to 20, build back up to a 5.3. And then that was happening like once a day. You'd have 5.3, along with all of those other explosions, plus there were earthquakes happening all over the place. I think there were like 60 to 80,000 earthquakes in a few months' time there.
But there was one particular time when they just had plastered all over the news the huge in the photos of the huge.
Oh yeah, and they took them from the golf course up there.
Yeah.
And
But I was under the impression that was like a particularly big event.
well,
that
no, there
happened.
were quite a number
And
of
that's
those,
when they
actually.
closed. And that's when they closed the whole area.
Yeah, they closed the park. They closed a lot of different things. And what happened is, also when that lava lake went down, then all those explosions, the craters started collapsing and falling in. And then when it would collapse and fall in, you'd get an ash cloud that was coming out of there. So the ash cloud is what
That's
you're
what I'm
referring
thinking
to.
of.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the corner there, that's an ash cloud coming out of pool. Oh, I took that picture from right here. I just felt the earthquake, went in and got my tripod, set it up right here, and shot the ash cloud from right here.
These are all your photos.
Amazing.
These are all my photos. I would just walk from my house to take these photos. All of them except for this one. This is up at the Hollywood Limo crater.
Cool.
I would get up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and go out because that's when you can spot it in the dark easily. And then I'd shoot until the sun came up, because once the sun comes up, it reflects off that crust that forms and you lose all of your color in your photos. 2010, it came and burned my house down.
Oh.
I'm smart enough to rebuild on the same property below the world's most active volcano. So that should tell you something right there. Maybe I have a lava addiction here.
Okay.
You know,
Well, and hopefully you built simply and, you know.
Not a lot of money put into it.
well, I've been building houses all my life, and so one of the reasons I bought the property
Here's the white one. I couldn't see it.
is that they don't force you to get building permits here, and that way I could do all the work myself, which I
Nice.
prefer to do everything myself. And another reason I wanted to buy the property is everyone's off-grid out here. I want it to be off-grid, so I have solar power for all my electricity. I can catch the rainwater off the roof for all my water. I can grow most of my own food.
Wow.
So
Is that
I can be
right?
fairly self-sufficient out here.